Ah. Shalom, shalom, shalom. First, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakah, Kodash, Tawada. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone who are leading this word in truth, in spirit, and sincerity. And salutations to the righteous brothers on the highways and byways and different streaming platforms that are bringing out this word in truth, in spirit, and in sincerity, in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai. Rakatha Yahweh, Rakatha Yahweh Shai. Shalom, brothers and sisters, once again. As you can see, today's edification, we're talking a little bit about Solomon. King Solomon said, I am black and commonly. I am black and commonly. Alright? So we're going to go into that. This chapter 1 of Songs of Solomon in chapter 1. So we've got Songs of Solomon in chapter 1. We're going to go into a little bit of that today. So, because when people read Songs of Solomon, they think, or what some people have led other people to believe, is that this is a woman singing songs to King Solomon. So they think the Songs of Solomon is a woman singing songs to Solomon. Well, it's not. The Songs of Solomon, the book of the Songs of Solomon, is not a woman singing songs to King Solomon. It's King Solomon himself speaking about the children of Israel, the Israelites. The Songs of Solomon is King Solomon describing and talking about the children of Israel in a poetic way, as Israel is described in many poetic ways throughout the Bible. As you know, Jeremiah speaks of Israel in a poetic way, Isaiah speaks of Israel in a poetic way, Ezekiel speaks of Israel in a poetic way. Those are the three main prophets that speak, and David, King David in Psalms, all right? And so does Solomon in Proverbs, in the book of Ecclesiastes, and the book of the Songs of Solomon. He speaks of Israel in a poetic way. So, without further ado, let's bring it up. Songs of Solomon, chapter 1. Songs of Solomon, chapter 1. Right, we're going to go through chapter 1 and then we're going to bring out some precepts. We're going to show you in the scriptures that this is Solomon talking to the children of Israel, to the Israelites. Alright? And also speaking of himself, speaking about himself when he speaks to the children. When he's speaking about the children of Israel, he's speaking about himself. King Solomon is a so-called black man, just like his father, King David. Just like his father, Jesse. Just like Jesse's father, Boaz. Alright? The Israelites, as we all know, are a nation of so-called black people, people of different shades of brown, that today are mixed amongst all the nations, but are predominantly made up of the African Americans, so-called West Indians, so-called Caribbeans, so-called Haitians, so-called Native American Indian, who are so-called Latinos, Hispanics, Mexicans, and Puerto Ricans. That is predominantly the house of Israel. But Israel is also scattered to the four corners of the world, as we all know. Israel is also mixed amongst the other nations due to the transatlantic slave trade. But the book, the Songs of Solomon, is Solomon speaking specifically about the children of Israel in a poetic way, in every sense. All right? And also speaking about himself. So, without further ado, let's just quickly go through this. We're going to start at the top, innit? It says the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. All right? The Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. These are Solomon's songs. This is not someone singing these songs to Solomon. This is Solomon's songs, right? He says, let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine. Right? Speaking about the nation of Israel. He's not speaking about a woman kissing him or anybody kissing him. He's just talking figuratively about the nation of Israel when he says that. Let me kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine. His love for Israel, for the nation that he is king over, is better than wine. So he's figuratively, poetically talking about the nation of Israel. It says, verse 3 says, because of the savor of thy good ointments, thy name is as an ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. So it says, therefore do the virgins love thee. Now the nation of Israel, or the Israelites, are described as virgins. Alright? So let's bring out a couple of precepts first to show you that. Jeremiah chapter 6. That's why we tell you this book is a spiritual book. It's a spiritual book with many metaphors, many things written figuratively, many parables written in this book, many dark sayings. Right? So, Jeremiah 6 and 2. So we're going to start here as a precept. It says, I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. So Jeremiah is showing you right here that the Israelites have been likened to the daughter of Zion, which are the Israelites, to a comely and delicate woman. All right? They've been associated with that, spoken of like that. Let's go Revelations chapter 14 to get more into the word when he speaks about them as a virgins. Therefore do the virgins love thee, when he says in verse 3. So Revelations chapter 14 verse 4. Is it verse 4 one? Yeah. We start at verse 3. It says, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn the song but the 144,000, which are the Israelites, 12,000 from which are different 12 tribes, which are redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, which means other philosophies, other beliefs. So to be defiled with women would be, these are those that did not let Islam take them in, did not go over to Catholicism, did not go over to Jehovah's Witness or Mormonism, did not go over to become a Sikh, Buddhism, Sikhism, Hinduism. They were not defiled with other women, other beliefs. For what? For they are virgins. So it's not talking about them being virgins where, you know, you've not had sex with a, if you're a man, you've not had sex with a woman. If you're a woman, you've not had sex with a man. It's not talking about that virgins. For they are virgins, which means they are clean, untouched. These are those of us that have come into this truth and have not been defiled by other women, by other beliefs, other religions, right? Other philosophies. It says, these are they which follow the Lamb, whithersoever he goes. So these are they which they come into this truth, which follow the Lamb, whithersoever he goes. So I always say to you that we are the Most High servants. We are the prophets of the Most High. We are here to break down the scriptures to you, right? We are here, in a sense, to bring this word to the nation of Israel. But only the elect are going to receive it. Only the elect are going to become those virgins. Only the elect are not going to be defiled by other women. But it's talking about Israel, the nation of Israel. And out of the nation of Israel, we're going to get what? The 144,000, which it states here, when it says, and that no man knew that song, but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. That's the 12 tribes of Israel. So when it says here, these are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goes, those are the 144,000 and the 1/3. Those are the elect. Those are you that are going to come into this truth and are going to stay the course to the end. And you're not going to be defiled by women, other women, which means other beliefs, other philosophies, other religions. These were redeemed. You understand? These are those that are going to be redeemed. What does the word redeem mean? To be saved, to receive salvation. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto the Most High and to the Lamb. Because I always tell you this as well, and for those of you that may not know, in the kingdom of heaven there will be a hierarchy system. So you've got to have your Yahushai at the top, right? In the promised land. He's going to be there in the promised land with us. Below him is going to be King David. Then you're going to have the 12 disciples with their thrones, with their crowns. Then you're going to have all of the prophets with their crowns. Then you're going to have the 144,000 with their crowns. So that's going to be the hierarchy system in the kingdom of heaven. And then you're going to have the nation. So every man that's going to receive, every man that receives salvation of Israel is going to have a crown. But there is going to be a hierarchy system in the kingdom of heaven, the promised land. The kingdom of heaven is coming to earth. The kingdom of heaven is going to be earth. The promised land is what was given to the Israelites from the river Euphrates to the river Nile. That's the promised land. The kingdom of heaven is coming to earth, which is the whole of earth is going to be ruled under the laws, commandments, and statutes of the kingdom of heaven. So these were they that were redeemed from men, being the first fruits of the 144,000 unto the Most High, right, to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of the Most High. So that's why we call ourselves the hopeful elect. We don't know who's going to receive salvation until the day of judgment comes. We have no idea who's going to receive salvation until the day of judgment. We call ourselves the hopeful elect. So it's all about doing this work enduring to the end. But what I was trying to bring out here is that when it speaks about virgins, it's speaking about Israel, the nation of Israel. Like I said there, these are they which are not defiled with women. The Israelites are not going to be defiled with the other religions, for they are virgins, right? Which means they are holy. When it says they are virgin, they are clean. It's not talking about virgins in the way of sex, men, women, not lost their virginity. It's not speaking on that. It's speaking of they are virgins, they are clean. These are the ones that made it to the end. When the scripture says, thou shalt endure to the end. So back to Songs of Solomon, when it says here, therefore do the virgins love thee. The virgins is talking about the nation of Israel. Israel, the nation of Israel loved King Solomon. Remember, he was our most prosperous king. There was no war during his 40-year reign. Israel had peace. And all the nations that sat around Israel were paying tribute to Israel because it was his father, King David, that brought all of those nations to his knees. That's why King David could not build the temple. When King David came to the Most High, came to the prophet Nathan, and was talking about him about building, he wanted to build a temple to the Most High. Nathan the prophet got a message from the Lord's angel that said to him that King David cannot build the temple to me because his hands are filled with blood. So what did King David do? All King David do was prepared. He prepared all of the bits and pieces that was going to be needed to build the temple. So he prepared all of the cedar, the gold, the bronze, the silver. He prepared the wood, all the parts that we're going to need for Solomon to build it. But King David could not build the temple that we know as Solomon's temple because his hand was covered in blood. He brought peace. He brought all of the nations down to their knees and to become tribute to Israel. So when Solomon came on the throne, Solomon had peace during his 40 years. There was no wars during the times of no major wars during the times of King Solomon's rulership. All right? So verse 4 says, draw me. It says, draw me, who will run after thee. Right? The king has brought me into his chambers. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine, right? The upright that's loves thee, right? So there's another precept I wanted to bring you as well regarding Israel being referred to as virgins, right? And this one most of you probably know, Matthew 25. Just to show you once again, I'm going to show you another precept where Israel is spoken about as virgins. Matthew 25 verse 1 says, then shall the kingdom of heaven. So what is the kingdom of heaven? The kingdom of heaven is the Israelites. It's the nation of Israel. They are the kingdom of heaven. They're going to be the ruling elite, the ruling power. So it says, then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins. Do you understand? Which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. Who is the bridegroom? Yahushua. So the same thing we spoke about here in Revelations when it says, these are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb, whithersoever he goeth. The Lamb is the bridegroom. These were redeemed. Who's coming to redeem us? Yahushua, the bridegroom, the Lamb, from among men. He's coming to redeem us from among all of these heathen nations. Right? He's coming to gather Israel from the four corners of the world, beginning with the 144,000 and then the 1/3, being the first fruits unto the Most High, unto the Lamb. The Lamb is the bridegroom. So once again, to show you that Solomon is speaking to the children of Israel, when it says here in Matthew, it says, and 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels and their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom cometh. That's when scripture says that the Lord's going to come like a thief in the night. Right? Go ye out, excuse me, to meet him. Then all those virgins arose. So it's talking about the Israelites. It's not talking about virgins, people that have never lost their virginity. All those people that have never had sex before rose up out of their beds and to the coming of our Lord. It's talking about the nation of Israel. All of Israel, just like you're going to see in the last days, arose. This is how it's going to go down when the Lord comes as well. Everyone thinks they can receive salvation. Everyone, especially those that have heard us preach that we are the Israelites and who the Israelites are, those that, the 2/3 that never accepted this truth, right? They're going to be rising up alongside the elect of Israel looking for salvation. That's why it says, then all those virgins arose, everyone, the elect and the non-elect, should I say. The 1/3, the 144,000 and the 1/3, and the 2/3. Everyone's going to rise up. But he's only coming for the 1/3 and the elect. And trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil. So that's when the foolish, the 2/3 are going to say, but guys, ain't we part of this? And we're going to say, well, we've been teaching you this thing for the last whatever X amount of years, and you refuse to accept who you are. Well, yeah, well, this is your lot. Your lot is destruction. So they're going to say, give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, Yahushua came, and they that were ready, those of us that hung on to this truth right to the end, I always speak about is enduring to the end, that hung on to this truth to the end, that truly believed in truth and spirit and sincerity with their faith and their works, those of us that hung on to the end to this truth, they that were ready, which are the elect, the 144,000 and the 1/3, went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. So what is the marriage? The marriage is salvation going up into the chariots. It's going to be shut on the 2/3. Afterwards came also the other virgins, the rest of Israel, the 2/3. It's not talking about people who haven't lost their virginity. It's talking about the 2/3. So afterwards came the other virgins, the 2/3 of Israel, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, verily I say unto you, I know you not. And that's why it says, watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. So for those of us that believe and will endure to the end, we pray that we are those virgins that are going to be delivered, the righteous virgins that are going to be delivered. So, go back to Songs of Solomon again to show you that when Solomon says here, because of the Saviour of thy good ointments, thy name is an ointment poured forth. Therefore do the virgins love thee. The virgins are the nation of Israel. It's not talking about a woman who's not lost her virginity or so forth and so on. It's talking about the nation of Israel. So those precepts that we just went through was an example to show you that in the Songs of Solomon, in chapter 1 and all the way through, Solomon is talking to the nation of Israel. This is not a woman singing to King Solomon. So he says, draw me, we will run after thee. The king has brought me into his chambers. All right? So Solomon's now talking about the Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. The king has brought me into his chambers. That's why, what was one of the first things that Solomon said to the Lord when he was crowned? He said to the Lord, let's quickly get this up. Oh, you see, precepts coming to mind. Is it in First Kings chapter, Solomon's prayer. Okay. Where is it? Solomon said. Let me just quickly find it. That's David asking for the Lord. 1 second, people. Pass the ark. So I'm saying the best place to just bring out this precept is blessed be the Lord Israel spake. Find the best place to start this. Then hear thou in heaven. Hold on. One second, people. 1 second. Just trying to find the right place to pull this precept out for you. That's David asking for it. 1 second. I got it, found it. Just wanted to find the right precept, right? Got to do our due diligence, First Kings. So this is what Solomon, First Kings chapter 3. Just want to find the right precept. Sorry for the little... So this is what Solomon asks of the Lord. Verse 7. So what we're referring to here, when Solomon says here, draw me, we will run after thee. The king has brought me into his chambers. We will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine. The uprights love thee. All right? That's Solomon talking about the Most High. When it says the king has brought me into his chambers. Because Solomon asks of the Most High when he became king. When Solomon became king, all right? This is what Solomon asks. And now, O Lord Yahweh, my power, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David. All right? Instead of David my father. And I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people, which is the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes, that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this, thy so great a people? All right? And the speech pleased the Lord, that Solomon had asked these things. And the powers, the Most High said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast thou asked riches for thyself, nor hast asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, which means an understanding mind, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall there any arise unto thee. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honour, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all these days. And if thou walk in thy ways to keep my statutes and my commandments as thy father David did walk, then I will lengthen your days. And Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream, because the Most High sent the angel to him in a dream. And he came to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and offered up burnt offerings and offered up peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants. Then came there two women that were harlots, and that goes on to talk about, they were talking about their child when they said, that woman said that she stole her baby in the night because her baby died and she swapped over. That's what that goes into after that. So go back to Songs of Solomon. So when he says, draw me, we will run after thee, the king has brought me into his chamber. That's what he's talking about. Because the Lord came to him in a vision in the night. Solomon had a dream, came to him in a dream, and in that vision, this is what he was asking for, and the Lord gave him. The Lord gave him understanding, just like it said. He says, give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this, such a great people? So the speech pleased the Lord, and Solomon had asked those things, and the Most High gave him, because thou had asked that thing. He hath not asked for thyself long life, neither riches for thyself, nor has he asked for life of thine enemies, but has asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. So that's what he was given. So this is when Solomon says there, draw me, we will run after thee, after the Most High, Yahweh, the king. There was no king above Solomon, was there? He was the king in Israel. So he's talking about the Most High, the king. The king has brought me into his chambers. That's who Solomon's talking about. When he says he's brought me into his chambers, he's referring to the dream, and then it goes on to the prayer, when Solomon made a prayer to the Most High about the nation of Israel in 1 Kings chapter 8? I'm not going to read it, but it's in 1 Kings chapter 8. Just start from verse 22 all the way down to verse 60. Solomon makes a prayer to the Most High about the whole nation of Israel. All right? So that's the book of 1 Kings. Write it down. Chapter 8, verse 22 to verse 60. That's when he makes that prayer about the whole house of Israel. After he's had that dream, when the Lord gave him understanding and discernment between good and evil and so forth. So this is who Solomon's talking about when he says the king has brought me into his chambers. He's talking about the Most High brought me into his chambers in that vision, in that dream that he had. He says, we will be glad and rejoice in thee. We will remember thy love more than wine. The upright love thee. The righteous love Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And then Solomon says, this is what Esau hates. This is what the nation of Esau hates. All right? This is what the Edomites hate. This is what the Caucasians hate. Then Solomon says, I am black. Holy smoke. But commonly, he is black and beautiful. So this is what Solomon says, right? Hold on a minute. Because we're going to have a preset for you. So, if we quickly look up the word black, Solomon says, I am black. Shakor. All right? Black. Dusky. Jetty. Black. Black, used of hair. Blackish color of the face. I say again, blackish color of the face. Because we are not black per se. What are we? We are different shades of brown. Right? Because the word shakor means dusky, dark. Right? Like dark skin, basically. That's why it says blackish color of the face. Alright? So Solomon was talking about himself. So when you hear people talk about King David was white, or they say he was white and ruddy, the word ruddy, when King David referred to himself as being ruddy, you just got to look up ruddy cow. Alright? And you know what color ruddy is. right? That's ruddy there. It's a brown. It's that glowing brown complexion that a lot of our people have. Ruddy, right? That's what ruddy means. When David said he was ruddy, white just means pure, pure. Because remember, the so-called white man did not call himself white until 1683 during the Beacon, what do you call it? The Beacon uprising. It was called in Virginia. That's when they start to call themselves white, and you can look it up yourself. It's called the Beacon. So the Beacon uprising, Virginia. I'm not going to go through it. You can look it up yourself. That's it. Beacon's Rebellion. Right? You can look this up. This is when the so-called white man started to call himself white. After the Beacon Rebellion, that's when they started to class the people in America. They said, right, those that come from European are white. Those that come from the west coast of Africa are black. And the Native American Indians are red. Can you believe it? The so-called white man is different shades of red. Called the Native American Indians red. Called himself white, and he's not white. And then called us black. And that's when the naming of the nations according to their race, that's what they did. After this uprising, it was about 1683, about 7 years later, that's when the classing began. They brought in new laws in Virginia. I'm not going to go through it. You can read it up yourself. It's called here you go, the Virginia Slave Codes. All right? That's when they did it. They prohibited blacks, regardless of free states, from owning arms and fire. Whites could not be employed by blacks. He says, allowed for apprehension of suspected runaways, established separate courts of trial, allowed the legal free trade of slaves with protections granted by the courts, established new property rights for slave owners. This is when it came in. These codes effectively embedded in the idea, you see? I won't go through it all. These codes effectively embedded in the idea of white supremacy into the law by the following devices. So this is when the so-called white man started to call himself white. When these laws came in, it was called just like you see here, the codes that were part of this new system now for the servants and slaves. That's when they started calling themselves white. Before that, the so-called white man would name himself according to where they come from. The French, you were French. If you came from Germany, you were German. If you were Swedish, you came from Sweden. If you were from Britain, you were considered British. You came from England. If you were from Scotland, you were considered Scottish. So forth and so on. It was after this uprising in Virginia, this is when they started to call themselves white. When they started to put in all of these new laws and started to, so that way they could, it enabled them to justify slavery even more in depth, and that so-called black man would be at the bottom of the peg. That's when it all happened, just so you understand. So, when King David talks about him being white and ruddy in the Bible, it means white, he means saying he's pure. When he says ruddy, he's referring to his complexion. Right? Just like when Solomon says, I am black uncommonly. He was dark-skinned, blackish color of the face. That's what Solomon's talking about. He's not talking about anything else. He's talking about his complexion. So, don't let no man or woman convince you that Solomon, David, and any of the Israelites were a nation but of any other complexion but different shades of brown. So Solomon says here, I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. So he's talking to the nation of Israel, because the nation of Israel is referred to as the daughters of Jerusalem. All right? How do we know that? Let's get another precept. Precept Jeremiah 2. Jeremiah 2 verse 21. So let's get an example in the book of Jeremiah. Hold on, we're going to come back to that in a minute, because that's going to go into the vineyard. Hold on. Let's go back here. So he says, O daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar. So when he says daughters of O ye daughters of Jerusalem, he's referring to the nation of Israel. So let's see if I got it here figuratively, if it shows you here. got it here. Okay, so it says here, daughter of a city or region or people. Right? So when it says daughters of Jerusalem, it says there, daughters of Abraham, for sons of Abraham, i.e. Hebrews, see my comment, poetic, by which all the inhabitants are presented under the figure of a woman. See? It says here, daughter of Abraham, for sons of Abraham, i.e. Hebrews, right? Hence has arisen Hebrew poets by which all the inhabitants are presented under the figure of a woman. All right, so let's just bring out a couple of those presets before I go to that one there. Isaiah 23 and 12. Isaiah 23 and 12. And he said, thou shalt no more rejoice, O thou oppressed virgin. All right, daughter of Zidon. Arise, pass over to Chittim. There also shalt thou have no rest. So it's referred to, it uses poetically when it's referring to a nation. All right? In this particular instance, it's referring to the nation of Israel. All right? Just like it says here, Hebrews, poets, by which all inhabitants are presented under the figure of a woman. All right? There's another precept, so Isaiah 47. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. All right? Who's the virgin daughter of Babylon? The United States of America. It's referring to the nation of America as the daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans are the elite, super elite. So it's referring to all the elites, the nation of the elites in America, as daughters of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt be no more called tender and delicate. So those are two different examples showing you. So, once again, there's Solomon poetically talking about the nation of Israel. When it says, as the tents of Kedar, as the tents of Kedar, right? So he says, I am black and comely as the tents of Kedar. What does the word Kedar mean? Dark. Kedar, dark. That was one of Ishmael's sons' names. Kedar. That's what it means. Of the skin, you see, dusky. Okay? Of the skin or the tent. Kedar was one of Ishmael's sons. See? See, it says there, black skin. See? Black skin. Black skinned man. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's like a razor. That's like a two-edged sword, that one. Black skinned man. What more do you need to see? Solomon says, I am black, but commonly you daughters of Jerusalem. And then he's comparing himself. He says, as the tents of Kedar. The word Kedar means black, dark skin. Black skinned man, as the tents of Kedar, as like the black skinned men of Kedar. Right? The black skinned men of who? Ishmael's descendants. Ishmael's son was called Kedar, descendants of Kedar. Of the skin, black skinned man. I mean, how much clearer does it need to be for you to understand that and know that? All right? Of the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon, look not upon me. All right? He says, because I am black. He says, look not upon me because I am black. All right? Blackish. See? Swarty. Blackish. Used of the color of the skin. I say again, use of the color of the skin. Swarty. Right? If we look up the word swarthy, S-W-A-R-T-H-Y. See? Swarthy. Dark complexion. Dark complexion. Because Solomon was a dark-skinned man. His father was more brown-skinned, but he was a dark-skinned man. And that could even come from his mother, Beersheba. She probably was a dark-skinned Israelite woman. So he was more darker than his father, King Solomon. So Solomon says blackish, use of the color of the skin. Swarty, black, swarty, dark complexion. These are not Caucasians. These are not different shades of red people. So it says, because I am black, because I am swarty, because I am a dark-skinned man, because the sun has looked upon me. All right? Because we know when the sun hits us, we get darker. I've had a bit of sun on me today. I've got a bit darker today from the sun hitting me today. In the winter time when there's less sun, I get back to my more of a browner skin. But I've got a lot more darker since we've had this good weather in the United Kingdom, in London, for the past 6 weeks. I've got a lot darker than what I normally am. Because the sun has looked upon me, just like I looked upon Solomon. It's looked upon me. My mother's children, talking about the nation of Israel, were angry with me. They made me the keeper of my vineyards. But my own vineyard have I not kept. So, the keeper of the vineyards, the word vineyards is another way of describing the children of Israel, right? Referring to the children of Israel. So we're going to show you that in Jeremiah 2 and 21. Jeremiah 2 and 21, it says here. I'll start at verse 20. It says, for of old time I have broken thy yoke, right? For of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands. And thou saidest, I will not transgress, when upon every high hill and under every green tree, talking about the nation of Israel, thou wanderest playing the harlot. The nation of Israel was playing the harlot, right? Which means they were taking on other religions and beliefs and practicing all the rest of it now. It doesn't mean the whole nation of Israel was going out there selling them, the women were all selling themselves as prostitutes. It's another metaphor, figuratively word used to describe the nation of Israel. They were like a harlot, behaving like a prostitute who sells herself to all different men. Israel was dealing with all these different nations when it comes to their beliefs and their cultures and their worshipping, and they took it on. It says, yet I planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. So Israel is referred to as a noble vine, as a vineyard. How then art thou turned unto a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? So now they are considered a degenerate vine, of a strange vine, a degenerate plant of a strange vine. Why? Because they've gone and played the harlot, worshipping other religions and beliefs and so forth and so on. So, when you go back to the Songs of Solomon, when he says here, they made me the keeper of the vineyard, because he is now the king of Israel. His father has passed away, David has died, Solomon has taken on the throne. He is now the keeper of that vineyard. That vineyard is the nation of Israel. All of the Israelites. We'll show you one more precept to get that right in, to make you have a full understanding that that Solomon is talking to the nation of Israel. This is not a woman singing any songs to Solomon, what people like to keep on selling you, all right? Because they want it to be a woman singing a song to Solomon, so that when you come to the verses where Solomon says, I am black but comely, they don't want Solomon to be describing themselves as black. They want it to be some woman. You know, just like what they have today, they've got black entertainers singing and entertaining them. They want it to be some black woman entertaining white King Solomon. So they want the Songs of Solomon to be a woman. That's what the churches and your Christian and your Israelis and all of those far-right Christian groups want it to be. Because they don't want it to be. They don't want King Solomon to be black. They don't want the nation to Israel to be black. They can't understand how that these people in the Bible are all being described as people of color. And the only people that are described of different shades of red are Edomites. And the only people that represent different shades of red today are your so-called Caucasians. So they don't want it to be that way. But they can't stop the truth. So it says there, Isaiah 5 verse 1. I'll read a few verses down. It says, now I will sing to my well-beloved, all right, a song of my beloved, touching his vineyard. Touching his vineyard, all right? My well-beloved has a vineyard, a very fruitful hill. All right, so this is Isaiah the prophet referring to the nation of Israel as his well-beloved vineyard. Just like how Solomon refers to them here when he says, They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but mine own vineyard have I not kept. All right. So you got here in Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, referring to the nation of Israel. So this is why I said that when you go up here and it says that let him kiss me with his kisses of his mouth, for thy love is better than wine, is a poetic way talking about the nation of Israel. He's not talking about he wants to kiss anybody or kiss, everybody in Israel. He's poetically talking about them in that way, in an affectionate way. Let him kiss me with his kisses of his mouth. All right? For thy love is better than wine. He's talking to the nation of Israel in a poetic, romantic way. So just like how Isaiah is talking about them, when he says, now will I sing to my well-beloved. He's not talking about some woman. Isaiah is not talking about some woman. He's talking about the nation of Israel. He's calling the nation of Israel his well-beloved. A song of my beloved, touching his vineyard. My well-beloved has a vineyard in a very fruitful hill. And he fenced it, right? This is the Most High who's protected Israel, who put the hedges. That's when we had the power on our side, when we was following the laws, commandments, and statutes. And he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof and planted it with the choicest vine and built a tower in the midst of it. All right? Talking about the nation of Israel, that tower in the midst of it, right, represents Solomon's temple. And also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes. So he looked at his vineyard, which is the nation of Israel, who the Most High planted in the promised land. And he's looking at it, who the Most High, who's Isaiah is referring to as a vineyard, that it should bring forth grapes, good grapes. And it brought forth wild grapes. Who are the wild grapes? The ones that started following the other beliefs, religions, taking on the other cultures and so forth of Israel. So those were the wild grapes in the land of Israel that caused us to go into captivity and under the Babylonians, under the Assyrians, to have all of that upheaval. It's because of the wild grapes that took on all of these false religions in the promised land and built the groves and allowed the different, remember we had the kings of Israel that was allowing us to worship different gods in Israel. They built high holy places for them and they were worshipping in there, so forth and so on. Those are the wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard. That's the nation of Israel. What could have been done more to my vineyard? So what the Lord is the Most High saying to Israel, what could he have done more for the nation of Israel? Remember, he delivered us out of the land of Egypt. We conquered all of the nations that was in the land of Israel. We had total control. David gave us that. Going back to Joshua, Moses. So he says, what more could he have done to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Yeah? So that's the Most High saying to Isaiah, what more could the Most High have done for the nation of Israel, which is his vineyard, that he has not done for us? Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, he's looking for the righteous, to bring more righteousness, more because he gave them the laws, commandments, and statutes. So he was hoping that he would bring forth righteous grapes. Brought it forth wild grapes. That's Israel going off. And now, go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. Right? So this is the Most High telling Isaiah, this is what he's going to do to his vineyard, which is the nation of Israel. I will take away the hedge thereof. That hedge was our protection, our power, our rock, our Elohim. And the Lord said that when the scripture where it says, my rock, see if I can quickly find it. Is it my rock? It's in Psalms. David speaks about this. This is my rock. No, that's not the one I want. Where is it? How is my rock? My rock. That's not the one. Where is it? Hold on. The particular scripture I wanted. The Lord spoke about Israel. There it is. Deuteronomy 32, 31. It says, for their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine, once again, is of the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are the grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is poison of dragons, and their cruel venom of asps. Is not this laid up in store with me and sealed among the treasures? To me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them will make haste. For the Lord Yahweh shall judge his people and repent himself for his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is none shut up of them. So that's him saying here when it says, in verse 30 it says, how should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight? That's the power we had, except their rock had sold them. So the Most High turned his back on us, and the Lord had shut them up. Because the other nations rock their power, but their power is not as our rock. They didn't have the power that we had, but we turned our back on the Lord by not following the laws, commandments, and statutes. Even our enemies themselves being judges. So when you go back to Isaiah, when it says, and now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. Because he's no longer protecting us. He was no longer being that rock for Israel. The vineyard is the nation of Israel. I will take away the hedge thereof, their protection, their rock, which is Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. It shall be eaten up and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down. That's how we were taken down. The Lord, the Most High, allowed it. And I will lay it waste, it shall not be pruned. He's no longer going to be taking care of the nation of Israel. He's going to lay it waste, it shall not be pruned, nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns. The briars and thorns are the other nations that are going to come up into the land of Israel. And I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon them. Why? For the vineyard, which is the nation of Israel, right? For the vineyard of the Lord Yahweh of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. Let me say it again. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. And he looked for judgment, but behold oppression, for righteousness, but behold a cry. So simple. So when he says here, they made me the keepers of the vineyard is the nation of Israel. This woman that's supposedly singing this song to Solomon, she's not being made the keeper of the house of Israel. It's the king of Israel. It's the king. He is the keeper of the vineyard. The vineyard is the nation of Israel, just like what we read here. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. So this is Solomon telling you, they made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard have I not kept. It says, tell me, O thou, whom my soul lovest, where thou feedest, where thou makest thy flock to rest at noon, for why should I be as the one that turneth aside the flocks of thy companions? All right? It says, if thou know not, O thou fairest among women, talking about the nation of Israel, when it says they're the fairest amongst the women, they are the, what did the Lord say about the nation of Israel? Deuteronomy 7 and 6. It says, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power. The Lord Yahweh thy power has chosen thee, chosen the nation of Israel, to be what? To be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So when Solomon speaks to Israel here again, it says, if thou know not, so he says, don't you know that thou is the fairest among the women, among the nations? Because the nations are referred to as women, figuratively. Because the Most High told them that they are a special people above all nations upon the planet Earth. So Solomon's just reiterating that fact here when he's speaking to the nation of Israel. It says, if thou know not that thou is the fairest among the women amongst all the nations, go thy way forth by the footsteps of the flock, and feed thy kids beside the shepherd's tents. I have compared thee, O my love, to a company of horses in Pharaoh's chariots. Because remember, Israel used to buy all of its chariots and horses from Egypt because they had the best built chariots and the most beautifulest horses. So Solomon said, look, I've compared thee, O my love, nation of Israel, to a company of horses in Pharaoh's chariots. I'm trying to find where's the precept where he buys Pharaoh's chariots. Let me see. See if I can find it. There's a scripture. Where is it? Trying to find it. There's a scripture where Solomon buys. I'm not sure where it is. Where he buys all of Pharaoh's chariots. Where he buys. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where Solomon buys. 1 minute, people. See if I can quickly find it. A scripture where Solomon buys these chariots from Pharaoh because of their beauty and their strength for the horses and all the rest of it and that. He has them all put in his no, that's Rehoboam, that's Solomon's son. But he hasn't put in his stable. He speaks about it. I had him found great favor. Find it. The Queen of Sheba comes to visit him. I don't find it, we just have to skip that one. There's a precept where no, I can't find it right now. How the Jew came to Jerusalem. Found it. Found it. Yeah. Into the chart. I found it. All praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. 1 Kings chapter 4. Trying to find the right verse to start out. And unto the border of Egypt they brought presents. Went over all the region. Alright, let's just go straight to the point. Straight to the point. Let's go down here. Hold on. We'll start verse 20. It says, Judah and Israel were many, as the sand which is by the sea in multitude, eating and drinking, making merry. And Solomon reigned over all kingdoms, from the river unto the land of the Philistines and unto the border of Egypt. They brought presents and served Solomon all the days of his life. And Solomon's provision for one day was 30 measures of fine flour, 60 measures of meal, 10 fat oxen, 20 oxen out of pastures, and 100 sheep, besides harts, roebucks, fallow deer, and fatted fowl. For he had dominion over all the region on this side on the river, from Tipsah even to Azar, over all the kings on this side the river. And he had peace on all sides round about him, because who brought him that peace? His father, King David. Right? It says, and Judah and Israel dwelt safely, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, from Dan even to Beersheba, all the days of Solomon. And Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, and 12,000 horsemen. And those officers provided victuals for King Solomon, for all that came unto King Solomon's table, every man in his month, they lacked nothing. Barley also, straw for the horses, and dromedaries brought unto the place where the officers were, every man according to his charge. All right. So, do I need to go down any further? No, that's fine. So, when Solomon says here, I have compared thee, O my love, to a company of horses in Pharaoh's chariots, because that's where he brought all of his horses and his chariots from, was from Pharaoh. And that's how many he had. Solomon had 40,000 stalls. Can you imagine? 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots and 12,000 horsemen. So that's why he compared them to, I have compared thee, the nation of Israel, O my love, to a company of horses in Pharaoh's chariots. Because that's where they brought all of their horses and chariots from, was from Egypt. Right? It says, the cheeks are comely with rows of jewels. So thy cheeks are comely, are beautiful, the nation of Israel, with rows of jewels, thy neck with chains of gold. All right. Now, if you remember when Queen of Sheba came to visit King Solomon, let me see if I can find it. So, if you remember, let's get this one. 1 Kings chapter 10. When Queen of Sheba came to visit King Solomon. So, Solomon says here, thy cheeks, talking about the nation of Israel, are comely, beautiful. The word comely means beautiful. With rows of jewels, thy neck with chains of gold. We will make thee borders of gold with studs of silver. Right? So it says, while the king sitteth at his table, my spikenard sendeth forth the smell thereof. Right? So, just to show you, when Queen of Sheba came to visit King Solomon, this is what she saw. And when the Queen of Sheba heard the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord Yahweh, she came to prove him. So she wanted to find out for herself, was all these things I heard about, this great king and his wealth and his beauty and his kingdom, is it all that I've heard? Or is it just fantasy? Is it fantasy? You know, like Fantasy Island, that show used to come on TV. She wanted to know, was it fantasy or is it a true thing? So she wanted to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a great train, with camels that bear spices, and very much gold and precious stones. And when she came to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. And Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king which he told her not. All right? And when the Queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom and the house that he had built, right, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, which means their dress, and his cupbearers, all right, his servants, and his ascent by which he went up unto the house of Yahweh, right? So when he went up into Solomon's temple, into the Most High's house, there was no more spirit in her. So when she saw this, what he had, when she saw his servants and their apparel, the clothes that they wore, and all of these ministers that sat round his table, and all of his cupbearers, she couldn't work out who was who, right? So she says here, she'd never seen such magnificence in her life, such beauty. Everyone was dressed in apparel, everyone had, gold, diamonds. It was standard in the nation of Israel. And she said to the king, it is a true report that I heard in my own land of thy acts and of thy wisdom. Howbeit, I believed not the words until I came, and my eyes had seen it. And behold, the half was not told me, thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard. So when she saw the wealth of Solomon, of his servants, of his cupbearers, of his ministers, right? She says, happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. Blessed be the Lord Yahweh, thy power, which delighteth in thee, to set thee in the throne of Israel, because the Lord Yahweh loved Israel forever. Therefore made he thee king to do judgment and justice. And then she gave the king 120 talents of gold. So she added to his wealth, and spices and great stones and precious stones, and came no more such abundance of spices as these which the queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. So she added to what he gave. She was blown away. Not just by Solomon, by everybody, by the cupbearers, by the servants, by the ministers. It's like there was no such thing as poverty under the kingdom of Solomon during that time. So when he says here, thy cheeks are commonly with rows of jewels, he's talking about the nation of Israel. The beauty and the splendor and the wealth and the riches of his people. Thy neck with chains of gold. We will make these borders of gold with studs of silver. While the king sitteth at the table, my spikenard sendeth forth the smell thereof. Let me just quickly look at that word spikenard. My spikenard, an odoriferous aromatic plant from India. That's the smell then. That's the like incense. Like it's it, yeah. Foreign origin, nard, aromatic, yeah. Like some sort of fragrance smell. So he says there, a bundle of myrrh is my well-beloved unto me. He shall lie all night betwixt my breasts. Talking about the nation of Israel. A bundle of myrrh, right, of laughter, of beauty. Myrrh means to, when it says a bundle of myrrh, let's quickly look it up. Arabian gum, bark of tree used in sacred oil in perfume. So that perfume is a properly nice smelling perfume. Distilling in drops also, so it's referring to them as that perfume that they get from Arabia. It says a bundle of myrrh like perfume is my well-beloved. Now we know already that Isaiah refers to Israel as my beloved. Right? When he says there, now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching this his vineyard. My well-beloved has a vineyard in a very fruitful hill. So we know that once again Solomon, when he refers to my well-beloved, he's talking about the nation of Israel. He shall lie all night betwixt my breasts. Now Isaiah said the same thing here. When he says, and now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem, which is a nation of Israel, and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard. All right? Vineyard, talking about the nation of Israel. It says, my beloved is unto me as a cluster of campfire in the vineyards of En-Gedi. So campfire must be, what is that, a fruit? Let's see what that is. Price of life, ransom, asphalt, pitch. Oh, it's a henna plant, name of a plant. Okay. So it's a henna plant. So it says, my beloved is unto me as a cluster of campfire, which is a henna plant, in the vineyards of En-Gedi. Behold, thou art fair, my love. Behold, thou art fair. Thou hast dove's eyes. Right? Once again, poetically, affectionately, talking about the nation of Israel. Referring them to someone who's fair, that has dove eyes. Behold, thou art fair. Talking about the nation of Israel. My beloved, yea, pleasant. Also, our bed is green. The beams of our house are cedar, and our rafters of fir. So, for those of you that once again that continue to perpetrate this myth that when Solomon was speaking, that the songs of Solomon is some lady singing these songs. This is not no lady singing this song. This is King Solomon addressing the nation of Israel after he had been crowned and throned, got his throne, come to the power and crown, and this is him addressing the whole nation of Israel, just like how he addressed them in the prayer. I'm not going to go through it, but in 1 Kings 8, he addressed the whole nation in a prayer. And I said you can read that when he says, and the Lord had performed his word, and he spake, and I am risen up in the room of David my father, to sit on the throne of Israel, as the Lord Yahweh promised, and have built an house for the name of the Lord Yahweh, the power of Israel. And I have set there a place of the ark, wherein the covenant of Yahweh is, which he made for our fathers, where we brought from the land of Egypt. And Solomon stood before the altar, right, in Solomon's temple of Yahweh, in the presence of all the congregation of Israel, and spread forth his hands towards heaven. And he says, Lord Yahweh, the power of Israel, there is no power like thee in heaven above or in earth beneath, who keepest this covenant and mercy with thy servants that walk before thee with all their heart. Now you can read that prayer right through to verse 60 to see what prayer Solomon put up regarding the nation of Israel. So when he sung these songs of Solomon, that's when he was addressing the whole nation of Israel, just like how he addressed the whole nation of Israel here in front of the temple, in Solomon's temple, after he had been crowned. This is another time during Solomon's rulership where he addressed all the songs of Solomon is about Solomon addressing the whole nation of Israel. They are not about any songs that a woman is singing to Solomon. And the reason I say again why people want to say that is because Solomon explicitly says in the songs of Solomon, I am black but commonly, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, which means I am black, dark skin, Swati of a dark skin, but beautiful. And he's talking to who? To the nation of Israel, the daughters of Jerusalem. So, I think we can call it a day there. My beloved vineyard that tuned in live. Alright? Because we are considered that beloved vineyard for those of us that are in this truth and that will stick with this truth. So to my beloved vineyard that tuned in live, and to my beloved vineyard that may tune in later, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Basham, Rakah, Kodash, Kal, Halal, Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim, Rakah, Kodash. Until we meet again, I say again, as I always say, I pray this was an edifying lesson to all the brothers and sisters and to my beloved vineyard that tuned in live, and for those of you that may tune in later. And it's all about enduring to the end, enduring this truth unto the end. All praises and glory to the Father and Son. Shalom, shalom, shalom.